Hello and welcome to another edition of For the Record. I'm Sean Murphy. One of my favorite shows to do is when it involves dogs. And we have Conan here. Notice I introduced him first. Eileen McCoffrin, she is of REGAP of Connecticut. Did I say your last name correctly?
McCoffrin.
McCoffrin. REGAP of Connecticut. That is an acronym. First of all, Eileen, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having us.
Tell us what REGAP of Connecticut is.
REGAP of Connecticut stands for Retired Greyhounds as Pets. And we've been involved with placing greyhounds forever, it seems, but for the past 40 years.
You go way back. Yeah, you go back to what, 1973?
You got it.
Wow.
That was a very good year.
Wow,
yes.
That's great. So you kind of got involved, basically, the Plainfield, the old, now no longer existing Plainfield Greyhound Park had something to do with you getting involved in starting this, right?
Absolutely, yes. And when the park opened, I did all my activities out at the park, doing meet and greets there on a regular basis, and then placing their dogs for them. Every weekend, I would borrow a friend's van and go out to the track and pick up maybe 10, 12 dogs. Business was good, adoptions were great, and everybody wanted a greyhound back then. They'd even sneak in a couple extra, which I had no clue they were doing.
Oh,
but
is that right?
Yeah, just to get them home.
Right, just to retire them.
Yes.
Now, there is a stereotype of, are greyhounds, especially when they're involved with tracks like this, are they not treated well? Is that what's going on?
No, that's what a lot of folks think.
Okay.
But, you know, really, when they're out there racing, you do want them to perform.
Right.
So
They love running, don't they?
Yes, they do. That's what they were born and bred for.
He did speak on the show today.
Yes,
Yeah.
he did.
All right, so they were born to run.
Yes,
right?
they absolutely love running. It's what their conformation says and what they're all about. It's after their racing days is what we have to look out for and make sure they're accounted for after their
Because that's when
careers.
they can more easily just simply get discarded when their usefulness is over, as far as maybe like a business owner is concerned.
That's right.
Right.
That's
And that's
right.
where you come in. Right?
Yes, yes.
So it's all about. Now this is perfect. He knows his spot. So
Yes.
But so the thing is once their career in racing is over, the idea is to get them adopted, get them to good homes so that they can just enjoy the rest of their life, right?
Correct.
The bad thing is what happens to them if they can't find a home?
There's no bad thing once they arrive at REGAP of Connecticut.
Well, that's good, yeah.
Yes. I have the kennel there for them and just wait for that right home to come along. You know, we match the greyhound to the family that's interested in adopting. So the worrisome part is getting them off the track once they're no longer showing potential for racing and get them into an adoption program like mine.
Now, there's no track in Connecticut anymore. Where do you get your greyhounds from?
We get them generally now from Florida.
Okay. A lot of running down there?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
So they get shipped up?
That's
and,
correct.
how do they travel, by the way?
They travel in hauls.
Okay.
And we meet the haulers at convenient locations right off the highway for both of us. And we generally do profiles of the greyhounds before they're even, arranged to come up. So I'll tell them what type of families and what type of dog that we need.
So I just want to go back and understand a little bit more about how and why you got involved. Did you, at one point, you're obviously a dog lover.
Yes.
But did you, what something triggered at one point back 40 years ago where you said, you know what, I have to be involved with this. I have to find these greyhounds homes.
Good question. Because everybody always says I was ahead of the game, but
well, if you're going back 40 years
yes.
doing this, then you were.
That's right.
At least right on the forefront of it, for sure.
Yes, because there were no homes, no rescue groups in place, and they just weren't thinking of greyhounds as pets back then. But one day I decided to go down to a track in New Hampshire. I was out vacationing and the Connecticut facilities weren't open and didn't realize what I was getting myself in for. And watched the races, and being an animal lover of all sorts, I just became fond of the breed. And when I learned what became of them after they finished their racing careers, I just had to do more.
Yeah.
So I found myself not sleeping that night, going back down to the track the following day and learning more and talking my way beyond security
Nice.
and waiting for a friendly trainer to come along. And he told me at that time that 14 dogs were being put to sleep that day.
Oh, boy.
So with that on my mind, I just had to do something. So at that point, I just saved my very first Greyhound, Terry Canary.
Wow.
She came from New Hampshire, and I just loved her to pieces, and that was the start of my rescuing Greyhounds.
Do Greyhounds have a tendency to retire at a certain age, or is it just when they just see that they start kind of losing interest in their profession? Or...
You know, it could happen at any age. It could happen at 2 years old. It could happen at 5 years old. It's just like us.
Right.
If we were out there running one day.
We just get tired of it.
That's
after
right.
a while. Yeah.
That's right. So if they lose too many races, you know, they grade them A through J or whatever it is, and they start losing their potential. So then they're calling us and looking, you know, for potential homes.
You know, as a dog lover and a person who started a Greyhound adoption agency, you come across to me as being less adversarial than I would imagine like your typical animal rights person would be. They would be more annoyed with the tracks and probably not want them running or racing to begin with. You seem to have taken a more passive approach and seem to be willing to work with the place and not, you know, like I said, be more confrontational. Or do you know what I mean about some of the...
Absolutely, and I've heard it along the way.
Yeah.
And animal rights people have questioned it, but for
He's off the set.
off to
His
the
time.
races. But Conan.
Come here, Conan. Come here.
But my feeling is you're not going to help the Greyhounds, which need the help.
That's a good point.
That's the priority with what, you know, rescue groups do. Yes, animal rights have their, you know, beef, and that's, you know, taking the dogs off the tracks, but ours is to help them. And being adversarial like that is not going to help them.
Right. Yeah, you're thinking of the dog. You know.
That's right.
You know, and I guess if you can work with a track or some other, you know, organization that's using the dogs for their own purposes, and the bottom line is if the dog can have a happy latter part of their life, that should be what the most important thing is. Huh?
Absolutely.
Tell me about the Greyhound as a breed in general. Obviously, people are adopting them. You've been doing this for a long time. How are they as a dog, at their temperament as a breed for a family? Talk about that a little bit.
Okay. They're the best example of a dog out there. I know everybody is fond of their particular breed.
Right. I'm a beagle lover myself,
Okay.
actually. But Greyhounds are fantastic, too.
Yes, they've got so many positives going for them.
Beautiful dogs, beautiful creatures.
Don't know of any negative except when you go through losing one.
Oh.
You know, they don't have the hereditary concerns that other breeds have, like hip dysplasia or anything of that nature. They're just basically an all-around wonderful pet.
How do they deal with, do they have separation anxiety?
I've got one at home that has separation anxiety, and
Is
he
that right?
was unhappy that I didn't bring him to the set today.
Is that right, really?
He's very attached to this boy.
Right.
Yeah, and
Okay.
he's my
So he's
latest
losing his
adoption.
buddy for the day.
That's right.
Right.
That's right. Yeah, they're all different personalities, and they're the closest thing to a human that you're going to find.
As far as their personality?
Yes, yes. They really do think they're human. I've got 2 or 3 sleeping with me every night.
Oh, good.
And so their days at the racetrack just really, I think it's amazing, but they just move right into a home so readily.
Now, they're big dogs, so you can't,
Yes.
you know, maybe a smallish apartment and a smallish yard probably isn't the best, or call it the most ideal place for them, right?
Well, you're correct, but if you're willing and dedicated to walking that dog,
That's key.
that's what it takes.
You know, someone said there's no such thing as having a big enough backyard, because if you're just letting them out in the backyard, that's certainly no substitute for a good long walk
That's
or
right.
a run in the dog park. Now, since these guys were runners in their former lives, they must have a lot of pent-up energy, and they've got to burn that energy off somehow, right?
Yep, they're sprinters.
Yeah.
So I've got a fenced-in backyard, so they can come and go 24/7. They allow me to live at the house. You know, I've got a dog door for
Right.
them.
Oh,
and
yeah.
So they can come and go, but they so look forward to when I get their leashes out and going for
Oh,
that
because
long
they know
walk.
they're going for the walk.
Yes.
What is it about?
yes.
What is it about a walk that a dog loves? Is it the camaraderie with their owner? Is it their ability to discover new scents? You know, because they're all pretty much scent hounds. But what is it about it that they love? New experiences? Is that what it is?
Absolutely. Just interacting with their owner, you know, getting that special bonding going with its owner.
Right.
And the sniffs, you know, everything that you say. And
Mark their
it's-
territory.
Yeah. Doing their thing.
Now, REGAP of Connecticut, pretty well known because, you know, aside from this show, gracing us with your presence, you've been on big time shows, right? Talk about some of the big networks that you've been on.
Sure. I started out with going on the Joan Rivers show.
Wow.
Back in my day, probably back in the 90s, and talking about the Greyhounds at that time. She was very interested in learning more. Like other stations, I went in Positively Connecticut, and you know, lots of news media as well, PM Magazine.
What kind of questions do they ask you? All the same stuff? Do they want to understand the breed and what's going on? And,
Yeah, they were very interested in learning more, you know, on how they were doing with families at the time because it was such a new experience
Hey, Conan.
placing them.
come here.
Come on, buddy.
Come on, Conan.
Come on, Conan.
Come on.
There we go.
There we go. Get back in the
There we
shot.
go.
Get back in the shot, buddy.
There.
And so they also asked to try to understand the adoption process and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Let's get right into that too, the adoption process. You had mentioned earlier about matching the right greyhound with the right person. Talk about that a little bit more.
That's right. Well, if you have a family, you're going to want a dog of, you know, a really mellow temperament to get along with the kids and, you know, other pets in the house. You have to know if there are other pets where the dog is going because some of the greyhounds think it's the bunny at the track.
Oh, yeah, good point. Yeah, a small cat might.
That's right.
You know?
That's right. So we profile the dogs before they go into homes and making sure that they meet the qualifications going into that family life because we just want a really successful placement.
Right. And you don't want the wrong match so that they end up coming back to you. Right?
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. But that's one of our qualifications and requirements is that they have to come back to us if they don't work out for whatever reason. You know, sometimes it just is not the right dog for the right families, so we switch out. But then other times it's a divorce situation. Whatever the situation is, we take that dog back no matter what the age. We don't want them going into a shelter and then if I get that word, I'll slip out to the shelter and
absolutely.
get the dog.
Good for you. That makes me happy. We're out of time for this segment. I want you to. I know, surprising, huh?
Gee whiz!
You want to give out the website for people to learn more?
Sure. The website is www.regapct.com.
All right. I think my director didn't tell me I was looking at the wrong camera the whole time. Eileen McCochran of the REGAP of Connecticut. We've got a lot more to get to. Conan, thanks for being on the show. We're going to bring another Greyhound in the next segment, right? We'll take a break and come back. I'm Sean Murphy. This is For the Record. Stay with us.
What if one day you could no longer speak, walk, feed yourself, or breathe without support, yet you could still think and feel every emotion? That day has already come for thousands of people with ALS or Lou Gehrig's disease, a deadly disease with no cure or effective treatment.
ALS has already destroyed my ability to do many things I love. But with your help, we can find treatments and a cure. Join in the fight against ALS.
And join in the fight for hope. Visit actionals.org.
For too many parents, a baby's first steps aren't just a milestone, they're a miracle. A miracle made possible by volunteers like you, who walk and raise money in March for Babies. The money you raise funds research and local programs that help babies overcome the challenges of premature birth and birth defects. Together, our steps make stronger, healthier babies a reality. for thousands of families. Sign up today to take the steps that help make milestones and even miracles possible. Who will you march for?
Welcome back to For the Record. I'm Sean Murphy. We are here with the fine folks from REGAP of Connecticut and some good-looking greyhounds. Brenda Ryan, who is not a greyhound, is here with us in this segment. First of all, welcome to the show. Thank you.
Thank you.
And who is our third guest today?
This is Bella.
Bella! Bella is, I've been told, a bit of a talker. Now, Conan did chat in our first segment, but Bella's probably going to be chatting the whole segment.
She's very
right?
chatty, yes.
Yeah. Tell us about Bella a little bit.
Bella was retired about 2.5 years ago from racing. She had a pretty good career. She came to me through REGAP, and since then she's joined the whole pack. We have quite a few dogs at the house, and she spends a lot of time sleeping, but she's also
She might be taking a coffee break now. Yeah.
in training for her CGC title. So.
Which is what?
Canine Good Citizen. So we do
Oh.
obedience training, and she's working on learning all her steps to
No
get
kidding.
that title.
You know, we talked a lot in the first segment about the temperament and the personality of greyhounds, but we didn't talk about what you had just mentioned, obedience, and how well they can be trained. Are they a fairly trainable dog?
They're very trainable. The nice thing about greyhounds is when you get them, they're already very well trained as far as leash training and manners. But if people want to do more obedience training with them, that's fabulous because you get to spend a lot of time bonding with your dog, and they're very trainable. Several of my dogs go through obedience training. I have a few with their CGC title. So we do a variety of different training, and they seem to really enjoy it. They love the interaction
Right.
with people, with the other dogs.
And we talked in the first segment about just really with any dog, the act of going for a walk is that bonding aspect of it. So when you're training, the dog and owner are spending time together. So those are bonding moments, right?
Very much so, and really you get that connection with your dog, and they really want to respond to you. So it's a fabulous way to bond with your dog and get them socialized with other dogs and other people. Greyhounds aren't always aware of other breeds. And if you have a more reserved dog, it's fabulous because
Right.
you get them exposed to all that.
Because I think most people probably agree that there's a lot of pent-up energy that on a regular basis needs to get burned off from a greyhound, right?
Yeah, they're not overly energetic, but they definitely allows them an opportunity to work off some steam if they have it. And just learning their manners with you.
How long does the obedience process take when you're talking about training, even when you get to the certification process that you're talking about too?
So I do several steps. I do the beginners and then the advanced, and then I go from there. Those are each 6-week sessions, and then I do my drop-in classes, which is truly advanced, and we work on all the pieces of a CGC title. And that can take, sometimes I work with them on a weekly basis for about a year. I don't make them work really hard.
Right.
We do it at their own
Union
pace.
rules, right?
Yeah. So
Now-
they enjoy it.
Is it true what Eileen said? They think they're human for the most part?
I think they do, yeah.
I think so. Now, are they just like any person or anybody else? As far as trainability, maybe some are quicker than others to catch on?
Definitely.
Yeah.
Some really take to the training and working with their person. Others really don't have that desire. I certainly have one that's like that, where we tried all the training, we worked for a long time, and she just really couldn't connect with me. So we moved on. We said, obedience isn't for you. We went on to nose work, which is more of a sport led by the dog, and you're part of the dog's team. You give them some guidance, but it's more about the dog, and it's great for reserved and shy dogs. It helps them overcome those fears because they're working on their own and developing a lot of confidence.
So did you get involved with REGAP once you adopted a greyhound yourself? Is that how it worked for you?
I did. I actually adopted my third greyhound from REGAP and
Oh, that's
offered
so
to volunteer
Wow.
with REGAP, and since then I've been volunteering on a regular basis.
You love it. It's your life, huh?
Yeah, we do a lot. I do a lot of fostering, a lot of events to try to get the dogs out there.
Now, is it tough for you? Now, you've adopted some, and they're part of your family, but when you do fostering, do you have to try to prevent yourself from getting too attached a little bit, knowing that they could potentially go to another home at some point?
Yeah, it's very difficult to not get attached.
Yeah.
You always hope that it's the dog's personality isn't a perfect match
Right,
for your
because there's
situation.
no way you can give them up, right?
Yeah, otherwise you end up keeping them, which is, I have several.
You know, and you could actually argue, you have 3 of your own, right?
5.
5? You could argue that you have a lot more than that because when you go to the place, then they're all yours too. They all know you, you know.
That's right.
You foster some, you could take some home whenever you wanted. So,
That's right.
yeah.
You get to really know their personalities, which is...
And your dogs, your 5 dogs, do they intermingle with some of the other ones too at all? Or?
They do, if we do events, various events, then yes, they definitely mingle with the other greyhounds.
Yeah.
But otherwise, you know.
How are these greyhounds that, like, when you take them to a public place, like say a dog park, interacting with other dogs and other breeds? How are they with them?
So with any dog in that type of a situation, you really have to monitor their behavior and be very cautious.
Keep an eye on them.
And keep an eye on them.
Yeah.
One, you're not 100% sure of how your dog will behave or other people's dogs will
Right.
behave.
That's probably the bigger concern, to be honest with you.
Right, and you know, we definitely recommend people be very cautious. Some of these dogs, you know, in fairness, do, you know, they're a racing breed, so they're prey-driven, and you have to be cautious around those situations.
Do you have any personal feelings about about their former lives as far as racing on the tracks or anything like that?
I really don't.
Okay.
I consider it a business, and as in any business, there are some people who are very good at it, and there are some people who shouldn't be in that business.
Right.
And these dogs love to run.
Right.
And you know, many situations, like when I get them home, they don't have the same opportunity for that.
Right. You just don't want to hear about them being mistreated
Right.
in any way, shape, or
Right.
form. So, you know, it's all about adoption, but at the same time, to run REGAP, being a 501c3, which is tough, and especially in the economy that we're in now, you have to have events, fundraising events. One of them is Pet Affair 14, correct?
Correct. So we have a yearly fundraiser. It's every September, the last Saturday of the month. So this year it's September 27th with the rain date. The following Sunday, it'll be the 28th. And it's our main means of raising funds for the entire year. And we have a number of activities that go on. We have a silent auction where we get a number of various donations from local,
Bella's not going to be silent at all.
no, local companies as well as companies throughout the world, actually. We've gotten donations from Canada and,
Wow.
and other places. We do a very broad net trying to get donations.
Anywhere you can get it
Anywhere
from,
we
right?
can get them from. So it could be local restaurants, or it could be gift baskets. It could be, you know, some wine or some alcohol.
I was going to ask you how companies, corporations, do they get involved too? Are they fairly generous with you?
Last year we were very fortunate to have a couple sponsors. We had Natural Balance and Petco offered to sponsor us when we reached out to them. So that was tremendous. It was new for us, and we're going to try a little bit more of that again this year to see if we can get some more sponsorship.
Greyhounds have a kind of a special diet that they need, people should be aware of?
Greyhounds really don't have a special diet.
Okay.
They can eat any really high quality kibble or raw diet, what have you. You just have to, like any other dog, you have to put them on their next diet very carefully,
Right.
to prevent any intestinal issues.
Okay, they're very sleek and thin dogs because they have a lot of energy and they run. Are they capable of becoming overweight if they're in that kind of lackadaisical environment?
They're very capable of being overweight. If you choose to continue to feed them, they will eat the food.
They will accept the offers.
Yes, they
yeah.
will. So you have to monitor the amount of food that you feed them.
I know they've been eyeballing some treats that you brought in
Yes, they
today
have.
too, right? They know, they have strong sense, right?
Yes.
So that's great. And they have different personalities. Even Conan and Bella have differing personalities, the two that we had here today. Bella, obviously the chatter, right?
Very, very chatty.
But she, Conan, he went for the water dish first, and she kind of allowed him. Not that she's necessarily submissive, but apparently, she allowed him to have the water first.
Yeah, that's her personality. She's like that even at home with the other dogs. She's laid back, knows her place, and doesn't push her boundaries.
Do they head for the couch or the bed?
They do indeed take the couch,
They spread
the
out,
love
I would
seat,
imagine,
the
too.
bed, the
Yeah.
recliner,
Wow.
and dog beds if we're lucky.
Yeah.
But sometimes it's me on the dog bed.
Right, that's
Yeah.
because that's the human bed, that's their bed, and
That's right.
and it's their couch and everything too. So a little bit more on Pet Affair 14, because it's an important event, like you said, it's your major fundraiser. You mentioned the silent auction. There's lots of other things going on here. Talk about that.
Right. So we also have a tag sale. We get a lot of donations for tag sale items. We get a number of people who come for that. We get a lot of people who come who have former adopters or new adopters of greyhounds. So we get a lot of greyhounds mingling as well as other breeds. We have we do place dogs. At the same time, we have a picnic
Conan's back.
as well, and then we have a bake sale for both humans and canines. So we have a lot of dog treats
Make
that
sure
we
you're
sell.
picking up the right one for yourself.
That's right. It's just a really fun event for people to come out and enjoy and meet the breed.
And one thing that's important, if you're bringing your dog, everyone's got to be on a leash just for safety purposes, and it just makes sense, right?
Correct,
Right.
correct.
Bring your dogs, but have a great time. Give me the dates again.
It's September 27th. That's a Saturday. The rain date is September 28th, and it's from 10 to 4.
10 to 4, that's right. And how about a website for people to go and learn more?
It's at, now you got me. It's
No, that's
REGAP CT.
There you go. That's exactly right. .com, and we'll put a graphic up on the screen for
Great.
everybody too. So we'll take one more break, and come right back. I'm Sean Murphy. This is For the Record. Stay with us.
Matchsticks, matchbox, matching tie to matching socks. You don't know why, but you're really special to match point, match game. You and I are not the same, but I can tell that you're really special to me. There is something I can give to make you laugh, to help you live. We're the perfect match, and you're really special to me. We're the perfect match, and you're really special to me.
Swimming introduces kids to the benefits of a healthy lifestyle, and a healthy kid is a confident kid.
America, welcome home the brave. The brave men and women who served their country are coming home. Home to their families and friends. Home to America. Some of these warriors are coming home with wounds you can see, and some with wounds you can't see, like post-traumatic stress disorder. Help us make their return to America as seamless and successful as possible. Contact Wounded Warrior Project at findwwp.org. Welcome home the brave.
So that is our show for today. We'd like to thank the fine folks from REGAP of Connecticut. And if you're interested in adopting a beautiful Greyhound, these two are taken, but there are plenty more that would love to have a great home. So please go to the website. If you can, go to Pets Affair 14. Be a part of that. Sounds like it's going to be a fun event. Thank you guys very much for being on the show.
Thank you for having us.
And thank you for joining all of us for another edition of For the Record. You can see this show and many others on our YouTube site. I'm Sean Murphy. We will see you next time.